to the Drums Creative Transformation Festival session on brand versus performance, creative's cursed conversation. And I'm joined here today with Jason Trout, Global Chief Digital Officer and VP of Agency Growth at Peach, and Richard Oppy, VP Global Brands at AB InBev. One of the big things, we've got major privacy, regulatory changes coming across the digital landscape, and that will change how ads are targeted. So Jason, what impact do you think this will have on the way creative is produced?
Creative at the heart of everything is going to be the key cornerstone of successful campaigns, and then your ability to react to that, I think is just as important. And in digital, what we get that return path data, which we don't get or haven't been able to get in traditional media in the past. And with that return path data, it gives you the opportunity to adjust, to refine, to find new pockets of audience that maybe weren't there originally. And all of those audiences need to be served with fantastic quality creative in order for the message to work properly. So not only the creative execution at the point that the campaign goes live, but as you iterate, and your ability to fast turn around creative executions and get them to the places where those audiences live becomes really, really important, much more important than probably it is now.
Transparency is still an issue across our industry. So what do marketers need to do to ensure greater visibility of their ads?
There are a lot of existing workflows and ways of getting creative assets to air that have been built on I guess more traditional media. So I think if you look at the way that ads get from production to TV broadcast environments, it's it's a well-established route. All the stakeholders are aligned on it, and you can get a TV ad on air within 24 hours, sometimes even less, because it just works, right? It's just a well-grooved machine. Whereas in digital, the whole digital landscape has grown so quickly, and everyone has their own coping strategies. Everyone has their own way of dealing with it. Plus the fact it's not regulated, so there is the ability for decision making and sort of standardization to be quite difficult to achieve, and that means that there isn't a well-grooved, really reliable way of fast turnaround for assets. And particularly when you look at clients like Richard, where they put a lot of time and attention into creating fantastic assets, that's great. But if you can't get them to where they need to get to fast, based on your return path data, then kind of what's the point, right? You're wasting your money because you're building stuff, but you just can't get it to the right places in the right time. So I think that big investment needs to be made in those workflows, and making sure that with visibility comes speed and comes accuracy as well, because there's no point in all the hard work being done at the front if at the end of it your programmatic buying team are getting lots of bids lost or creatives not served, right? So I think all of these things to me point towards better use of automation, better use of systems to do the things that, quite frankly, people are doing manually at the moment, which is completely unnecessary.
And video is a pretty compulsory marketing tool in terms of gaining exposure and better performance. So with developments in CTV and ATV, how can marketers take advantage of this to increase brand awareness and acquisition at the same time?
We buy a lot more online now. We're spending a lot more time within those cord-cutting environments. And I think this is great news, because it means that the advances in technology and the ability to segment data, the rise of businesses like Samba TV, who now can provide fantastic data on what people are actually watching, when and for how long, across every single channel, be that traditional linear BVOD channels, or connected channels and platforms. And that rich data means that marketeers now have much more ammunition and much more ability to really work out where they spend their money, how they engage with customers, and it gives them that return path as well, so they can really start to see what impact all the different types of executions are having. And I think, for me, that's such a fantastic future look, and I think we should all be very excited about that.
And so for brand and performance to achieve perfect synergy, what will it take?
From a brand perspective, execution is everything. So creative excellence in everything is so important, and that's from the actual final edit all the way through to how it appears on screen to a consumer. Making sure that the device that people will see it on is optimized. So making sure that the execution, if you're watching it on a mobile phone, that you've got a 9:16 aspect ratio, because if you haven't, it will look terrible and the brand experience will be terrible. Making sure that if there's subtitles on it, that the subtitles are visible and in the language that you would expect them to be in. There's loads of, really important details that often get overlooked when you try and cookie cut executions to try and fit as many places as possible. Every single environment, every single platform, every single user needs to be thought of in a bespoke way, and the creative execution needs to be created and delivered in that way. And the delivery piece is just as important, because as I said before, if you don't get it in front of the right people, then you've wasted all your money in building it in the first place.
And if we could wrap up by offering the viewers one key takeaway from today's session, what would it be?
I think the key takeaways are we need to be putting consumers first, and let's treat them not just as consumers, but as people. So we need to build creative that's going to create an emotional connection with these people first and foremost. Let's embrace the data and let's listen to what people are saying. And so, one thing we do is we're creating more content now than we ever have, faster, cheaper, and I would say more effectively. And what we do is, we listen to what people are saying. We actually put a lot of the content out there organically, and we'll see what's working, what's not working. And the content that's working, that's what we'll then put and fuel media behind. And that's where we will overinvest with confidence. And then at the same time, I think, as a marketer, if you're still creating just hero films and talking about 30-second ads, you're going to die. So really work with your partners in the digital platforms to better understand their platforms, understand their tools, and make sure you're creating content that is native for that platform for it to really cut through. So that would be my key pieces of advice.
I would say just get really curious, and also demand visibility. It is your right to understand what is going on. Where are these assets going to? Are you making the right ones? Are you making a bunch of assets that never get used? Or are you using platforms that require a certain type of ad format that you don't make? So there's lots of ways where I think the creative optimization is really important. Understanding what's really going on, but also see it as a huge opportunity. There's a huge opportunity to really harness the power of digital, the return path data, the ability to adjust campaigns on the fly based on your own first-party data, and data that you can use from other sources. But if you've got all that information, how quickly can you react? How quickly can you make changes? How quickly can you course correct? And that's where, in my view, balancing that with really good automation of workflow, so that it becomes a seamless process rather than a bus stop where you have to regroup, change things, then people are carrying out loads of manual work that they just don't need to do anymore. All of this can be automated. So I think the future is really exciting. There's a lot more data available. There's a lot more ability to harness all the data together. There's a lot more creative optimization that can be done. And with advances in DCO as well, there are going to be more creative assets available for people to use. So just make sure you're using technology that's fit for purpose to execute and deliver those campaigns, and that way you'll absolutely see the real benefit of I think this transformation in the way that consumers consume media, but also how they perceive brands.